I started playing the drums when I was actually, you know what, piano was my first instrument, but I was like 2 years old. I wanted to play piano because my mom played piano and it just looked fun. But my mom was too much of a, like a, you know, she was very disciplinarian person or like a very practice routine oriented. Like she knew like, gotta do your scales, you gotta do this. And I just wanted to explore the instrument. I was like, I just want to play around and see what's going on. So I think I gave up on the piano and I started like hitting the pots and pans when she would cook in the kitchen. And then it was like my grandmother when I was like 4 or 5 that just told my mom, she was like, I think he wants to play the drums. And that's when it all started. So when I was 5 years old, between my grandmother, my mother, and my uncle, they found this drum instructor who ended up being the drum instructor who taught me, Chris Dave, Kendrick Scott, Jamari Williams. This guy's name's Craig Green. We call him the guru of just drums because he's the best. I mean, he's just amazing, just unbelievable.
What about the piano?
Oh, I still play the piano, but you know, it was hard to practice it around my mom, you know, because you know you go in there and you just try to explore. You know, I'm like a kid, like 2, 3 years old. She's like, no. I was like, come on, mama. Damn. Man, I'm actually influenced by everything, really, because I'm just kind of one of those curious people. Like, I'm a observative person. I like to just watch things, and I try not to get too deep into anything. Like, I just like to kind of get the gist of whatever's going on. That way, I can kind of form my own opinion. Like, I like to kind of keep my own belief system about everything, because I feel like it's, you know, I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like the world is just opinion based. So it's not so much important as to just feel like you have to gain a sense of knowledge from someone else. It's more about just seeing how you feel about it. And that kind of, I believe, just creates your own life, you know. So that's why I'm just influenced by everything. Like I see what people wear, I see what people do, and I just kind of take it in. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. And if something resonates with me, or and what I mean by that, if it makes me feel good, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try that. You know, that's the shit. And so. Yeah, oh, as far as the drums, different setups do affect my playing, and it's something that I actually like. I've just recently started really trying to focus on having a pretty similar setup, but I don't necessarily look for it. You know, it's just the same thing. It's kind of, I get into the gist areas. Nothing's really exact. Because I feel like that's where my ideas come from. Like everything for me with drums is muscle memory. So if I set up the drums the same way, I feel like I'm gonna play the same thing. And I never want to necessarily play the same thing. I like for it to just be, you know, unique and different. I feel comfortable in that arena. I get bored if I just like, oh shit, I played this last night. It's like, oh man. Right now, I made the switch from Yamaha to Sakai drums. Sakai is actually Yamaha. Yamaha, because Sakai is the Japanese makers in Japan. So they made all the Yamaha drums. The Yamaha Maple Absolute, the Phoenix, all the high-end drums all come from Japan. I just stay with Sakai because it's pretty much the same Yamaha drums, the same guys that making the same stuff, the same wood, and I mean they're awesome. Man. They're so cute. Right now, I mean it's brand new. Only me and Kareem Riggins, you know.
Yeah.
And it's another drum, maybe a couple other drummers, but they're starting to get more drummers in. But we're like the first 2 cats, you know, to sign on with the company. Well, I just be honest. Like if I don't like what I'm playing, I either play less or just really just play something that I totally just don't feel comfortable playing. I just really just
to explore something new.
exactly totally something new because I'm tired of playing the same shit. And then you find inspiration within that. So that's why sometimes I'll be in a groove phase where everything I play is based out of a groove. Then I'll be in a phase where I'm just playing like free. But I still surround myself with like groove players so that it's the whole thing is not free playing. So I think I'm sensitive to like the physics of it, like where I like to keep it balanced. Like if I'm gonna play free, then the cats have to play groovy. Because otherwise then, people need something to be attached to, something to feel that kind of pulse. So. And I think I'm fortunate because I play with a lot of different bands, so I get to kind of do that anyway. In my band, I like the fact that I can just do whatever I feel like doing. That's just like.
I noticed that.
Oh man, it's just like yes, thank you.
Right.
Finally, I mean you can do it in other bands too. It's just sometimes the guys in the band, especially if it's their tune, they might be like man, I'm hearing this specific thing, and you try to honor that. It's like okay, my bad, man. I'll play what you like. I'll play that. But if it was my gig. I think to develop your own sound, it's not as hard as one might think. I think it's just taking everything. It's the same thing I said in the beginning. Remaining not going too deep into any one person. It's just like taking information from everybody and just kind of getting the gist of it and then just interpreting it your own way. I feel like if you go too much into one person, then you kind of become like a clone of that person. So you start to really sound like that person and you start to move like that person. And it's just like you kind of lose the variety of everything else that you can be, that you can incorporate into your playing. I can play a little bit of Tony, I can play a little bit of Elvin, I can play a little bit of Jack. And the thing is that I've checked out each one enough that I wasn't just checking them out. I was checking out the sound that was surrounding them. Like when you think about Tony, you think about the Miles Davis Quintet, you think about, his band in the 70s, his band in the 80s. And you get this kind of gist of a sound that comes from Tony Williams. The same thing with Elvin, the same thing with Jack DeJohnette. So when I play with players that have, like Keith, like if a player that comes and plays like Keith Jarrett, per se, in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, I got some options. And I think that's what develops my sound is the fact that I have checked out those guys, but just not to the point to where I'm exactly like those guys. So what had happened, my interpretation still sounds like me, but with with that influence, like man, that's kind of Tony-ish, but it still sounds like Eric. And then I feel like you set yourself up for judgment. Like other drummers gonna be like, yeah, but it still ain't Tony. Whereas like if you sound like yourself, they have nothing to judge you by. That's why another one of my favorite drummers is like Nasheed Wakes. We were just talking about him. It's just he doesn't sound like anybody. So you can't be like yeah. You're just like, damn, it's so unique, it's his thing. Like even Dennis, like even though he's playing pocket, it became a Dennis pocket, like it's his thing. I think it's much more fun to just play what you want to play.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell drum, just sit at the drum set and just, figure out what feels good to you. And like what, and the other drummers that you like and just kind of get that sound.
Yeah.
And, and then just because the main thing I feel like comes from the technique. It's not so much what you hear and what you like. What limits drummers is their ability to produce what they hear on the inside. And that's just spending times, with like, getting to know the technical side of the drums. And it's not so much, you can use books to do it. Those are great, but it's all based on patterns and it's all based on like the muscle memory. It's like getting your body used to making those motions. So you have to do it more and more, and just check out all the different, sticking techniques, wrist techniques, everything that you can use to get the language out that you want to get out. And just keep practicing. Because I still hear the shit I was hearing when I was younger. I just couldn't play it, so it's frustrating. I'm like, man, I really want to get this, but it's just my body just wasn't ready. I hadn't trained my body. It's like a runner. Like you have the idea to run 20 miles, but after like 1 mile, you're like, like, I don't know how the motherfuckers can run 20 miles, you know. But you have to condition yourself. You have to go out there 1 mile today, next day 1.5 miles, you know, and then you do other forms of conditioning, eating and certain ways, stretching. You know. Well, you know, you're like, oh man, I'm running 10 miles, you know. Condition some more, 15 miles. You know. It's just the body. Just gotta get used to this.
Yeah.
It depends. Everybody's different. When I'm playing with like per se Dave Holland, he pretty much has like a lead sheet, and that way I can see the melody, I can see the hits, and then you know it's open interpretation pretty much. Unless there's a specific song that he really wants something specific, then he'll be like, oh yeah, you know, can you just on this part, can you go for something like this? But Dave has always been pretty open musically about whatever you hear, just you know, we'll find it kind of vibe. When I used to play with Kurt Rosenwinkel though, he was definitely more specific. Like he would have like a drum, not necessarily like a drum chart, but like a drum MP3 of him like having like, you know, messing around with an actual drum sound that he was really hearing. And I'd be like, oh shit. And he'd be like, yeah, man, as close as you can get to that is really what I'm trying to hear. And so I would like take that MP3 and just take it home and just really shed it and just really like check it out. Or if it's the day of the recording, then I would just kind of sit in the corner, you know, put on some headphones and really kind of get the vibe, you know, just be like hear what he's going for, and then get on the drums and try to, fill it out. So everybody's different,
Yeah.
Everybody I play with, even the guys that are very specific, I'll just make suggestions. I was like, because, they want to know that you can play it, but then you be like, well, man, I was checking that groove out, and like, that shit is killing, but, I'm going to play that groove, but if I add this thing on top of it, how do you feel about that? And they be like, oh, man, that shit's great, So I think if drummers, you can always suggest to be more creative. Like, I think one of the greatest examples of that is Chris Dave. Like, people always ask him just do like a simple, they be like, yeah, man, just lay this backbeat on it. But he'll take it and be like, oh, man, yeah, all right, cool. But see, if I do it like this, though, and the shit be so killing, they be like, oh, man, it's undeniable, that it's like, it's so creative and just so different. And, like I've done film scores, like, like the closest I come to like playing with somebody like famous pop person was, I was in the studio with Mariah Carey for her movie Glitter. Yeah. And, we were playing and stuff, and that was the thing. They were like, man, like at first I went in there and I played the part. And then I was like, man, it just sounds like, just like every other thing, just like, which is cool. But I was like, I gotta spice that shit up a little bit, so you add a little tambourine, something on the floor tom, just to give it like, man, she was in the studio, smiles up to here, like, oh my God, that's so great. I never thought, It's just, I think they're open. Yeah. It's just that their biggest fear is like having someone that can't play the basic shit that they bring in. Because that happens. I mean, drummers go in and like they don't know how to play with a click track. And it's so, their time rushes or it drags. And it's hard for them to sing with that because they need it to be like, they just need it to groove. Like they need that shit to be just like that. Yeah. Whereas jazz, you do have more open-ended, but as far as being creative, I think there's no limit to being creative. I think, everybody wants somebody that's creative. It's just, unless you be like, there's such thing as playing too much. And I think that's what happens. Like some drummers, they're not necessarily being creative, they're just overplaying. Yeah. And I think that's when like the artist will be like, yo, pull that way back, because, to be creative doesn't mean that I'm taking a solo. It's just adding some layers, it's just like, instead of just you just it's still grooving, but it just puts an extra thing on it, it's just different,
Cool.
Yeah. First is definitely John Coltrane, Love Supreme. That's must have. Then it's Live at the Pluck Nickel. Tony Williams with Miles. I mean, just the whole series. You got to get that shit. Next would be, I don't know who the drummer is, but there's this Marvin Gaye record called Here My Dear. But it's like the drums, just as far as some groove shit, it's just ridiculous to me. I mean, it falls into that really being creative and, how to play a groove without it always having to be the same kind of groove kind of thing. This one album, because I love it, was, I'm blanking on the name, but you know that, the record with Dennis plays with Bill Evans, the famous record. Oh my God, why am I not? For Dennis, you got to listen to Live at the Beverly Center, the Parliament, P-Funk. That shit is fucking killer. That's some badass shit. And then another record I like just because of the music. I mean, man, it's just way too many records I like, man. I mean, I know a lot of jazz guys not gonna probably like this, but I like that Chick Corea Electric Band, Inside Out. I love Dave Welcome, but I'm not like a huge, I'm not like oh my God, it's Dave Welcome, oh my God, it's Dave Welcome. But he plays his ass off on that shit though. I was like, God damn, man, it's. I mean, you really listen to it, and it's just because the writing is so complex, and the way he was able to play with the writing but remain musical and the time and the phrasing, I was just like, Chick Corea is composing very classically oriented on a lot of the tunes. And I think, definitely the connection between Chick Corea and John Patitucci and Dave Welcome, it's just, that shit is, I was like, wow, okay. Just each song, the pockets they get into, the way they, go in and outside of the music, the phrasing they do with each other, that, I was like, them motherfuckers was playing, man. I was like, woo. So, but it's way too many records. But I mean, if I got to name 5, I would name those. It's kind of weird. I'm not necessarily, right now, as of today, I'm not listening to a whole lot of music. I'm listening to more sounds because I'm trying to I'm trying to be open to just new sounds to hear when I'm playing the drums. I'm listening to a lot of kind of spoken word stuff. Man, it's you hear so many phrases that when people talking, you listen to audiobooks and the way they read the books and stuff like that. It's you hear the phrase and I try to emulate the phrasing when I'm playing. And so that's really what I'm listening to because, I've listened to a lot of Indian music. I'm fortunate to play with Zakir Hussain. And so, I got playing a lot of Indian ragas and stuff. So a lot of the rhythmic stuff, I'm already hearing just from listening to it for years. But so now I'm just into like sounds and just phrases. That way I can just kind of play those phrases, and I feel like it's enough like the natural expression of the way people talk that I feel like people would understand those phrases better than if I was playing just like a regurgitated drum pattern. So that's actually what I'm into right now. We're now on this thing called the bunker section. Bunker session. And it's me and Charlie Hunter. We went in the studio because, for those who don't know, there's Eric Harland Loops Volume 1 and Volume 2. So they're both out. It's pretty much just me, just going through a series of just drum grooves and, the way I interpret them and hear them and stuff like that. The CEO of the company is really great. He also went to Berkeley. He actually plays drums and guitar as well. And so he just has a natural ear. He heard me when I was playing with this guy, Bob Reynolds. Bob Reynolds plays with John Mayer, and so we did a record where, Bob Reynolds and John Mayer went to do a project together. And so it was great. And so I got a chance to play with both of them. And it was super killing to be in the studio with John Mayer. The CEO, Ryan Gruss, was there at the time. And he just approached me. He was like, man, I like the way you play. Would you ever be down to just go in the studio and just kind of groove out on some stuff? And, I'll take it and, chop it up. And, we'll just see if people like it or whatever and kind of stuff like that. And I was like, killing. All I got to do is go in the studio and play. And that's what ended up happening. So, and the thing is, the first one was like the studio at home. Well, both Volume 1 and Volume 2, because I have my own studio set up, my own mics and stuff like that. And so I would just record myself playing just a lot of just different grooves, a lot of different textures, and then I would sample all of my sounds. I would play all of my sounds, and then he did all the cutting, the editing, and like he would, take my drum sounds and sample it so that people could use them, in Pro Tools, Logic, any audio interface software or whatever. So. Not interface, audio software, right? Just whatever. So the latest thing is the bunker sessions. And the bunker sessions is super killing because it's me and Charlie Hunter in the same room grooving off of each other. And basically, Ryan put like a list of just different grooves that he got from feedback of what people wanted to hear and what people wanted to check out. You can go to it's thelooploft.com And all the stuff is available there. Also soon to be an all garage. See, there I go again. Soon to be an all guitar center location. They're also selling it on because we're linked together with Propeller Head. So I think that's a Swedish company. Also, I think Logic is probably going to start selling it. He's working out all the business lines between that. He's the brains of making all the connections. But I know so far we definitely have Guitar Center and Propeller Head. And I think he's working on a deal with Appleton. I think I'm saying that correctly. Yeah. And some other stuff. But he's just a genius when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, kill it. Explore your sound. Explore the way you feel on the drums. Nothing is too simple and nothing is too complex. Just allow yourself to be without judgment, per se. I think the main thing for drummers is when we sit down at the kit, we tend to compare ourselves to other drummers or to everything. Instead of just kind of sitting there and just getting to know the instrument, and just seeing what it feels like. So I feel like if every drummer, no matter your level, if you start there, then you'll clearly see like how much that you can get to. Because I think the world of just information will start to open up because sounds are just so important. They're so beautiful. Like it doesn't have to just be like this one feel that you heard this drummer play. Like, okay, that's great, but that's like one feel out of a billion. So I think it's more important for like a person to be real authentic with their sound. At least to me. Each drummer I think has something that's very important to them, but that's been like the thing for me and for like my style and for everybody that I play with, it's just being authentic to the way that I play. This is Eric Harland for YouGroove. Yes. The sillier the better, man.
I totally agree.
Right. Everybody take shit way too serious. I be like, man, I can't be that serious when I play the drums.